So to a degree, I'm certain that you're familiar with this specialty bar. This is a Swiss bar with angled handles, and it's quite common actually. You might have seen it used on social media. Possibly they have one at the gym that you frequent, or you may have even used it, either just to experiment here and there and have fun with a specialty bar, or possibly you work it into your programming on a consistent basis. The Swiss bar is often used in horizontal pressing variations, such as the flat bench and incline bench. Although less common, you'll also see it used in overhead pressing variations as well. And let's not forget all of the rows that you can be working into your programming to build that back. So sure, the Swiss bar is a versatile training implement. But the question is, how versatile is it? How much training variety can it contribute in consideration of exercise selection? And further, what are the benefits to even using it? So obviously, your horizontal presses, your overhead presses, and your barbell row variations are going to be the more commonly considered exercise variations. But here's the reality. The Swiss bar can be used for almost every single exercise that you might execute with a traditional straight bar. So without presenting an exhaustive list, consider your rows, your flat presses, your decline presses, your incline presses, your overhead presses, your floor presses, your landmine press, floor press variations, your tricep extension variations, such as the JM press or skull crushers. And don't forget to consider the curling options that you can also incorporate. But wait, that's not it, because check this out. Look at all these different grip placements that you now have at your disposal. 1, 2, 3. Well, that means for each one of those ranges of motion, you now also have a close grip option, a middle grip option, and a wide grip option, each one of which you'll be able to express a different degree of strength, and each of which should be measured as its own individual exercise variation. And if that's not enough exercise variety for you, and you tend to be a little bit more obsessive when it comes to the intricate details of your training, flip that bar over and you have the reverse grip option of each one of those previous variations. That's a lot of training options just off one specialty bar. So exercise variety is great, but that's not all the Swiss bar has to offer. In fact, there's quite a few other progressive contributions that this specialty bar provides. So here's what I've noticed, incorporating the Swiss bar into both the programming of my clients, as well as my own programming over the past few years. And of course, this isn't an exhaustive list. It's just observations that I've made in practice. And further, they're in no particular order. What might be most obvious is that many of the progressive benefits that are contributed by the Swiss bar are in large part due to the grip placement. One of those benefits is the relief provided to the shoulders. Now, what is often noted by individuals who experience shoulder discomfort when pressing with a traditional straight bar is that they don't experience that same discomfort when incorporating a neutral grip as is forced with the Swiss bar. Further, is not only are they able to now train through a range of motion that involves pressing, whether it's on a flat bench, a decline, an incline, an overhead, they're able to strengthen the surrounding musculature and continue to press weights that apply adequate stress, potentially transitioning back to a straight bar in the future if they so desire, or if they don't, at least being able to maintain an exercise option that allows them to continue to strengthen the chest, shoulders, triceps. And for those individuals like myself who are regularly pressing heavy weights using a traditional straight bar, what you'll often find is that by purposely rotating in Swiss bar variations, you provide your shoulders with great relief. Almost in a sense, you can consider it a little bit of a breather. And what's interesting is when incorporating the Swiss bar into your programming, the hand placement forces your elbows into a more forward angle, one that tends to track closer to the torso and consequently much closer to the midline of the body, presenting quite a bit of relief to the shoulders under load. And this is beneficial because that means you can continue to move heavy loads, you can continue to apply adequate stress, you can continue to train hard, train heavy, and maintain your relative training intensity while avoiding beating up your shoulders over time. Also worth noting is that the neutral grip hand placement tends to be much easier on the wrists. Now consider, when you're pressing with a straight bar, what often happens if you're not paying close attention or if fatigue starts to set in, is you notice that as you're pressing, your wrists slowly start to come backwards. And obviously that's not optimal because it creates a slight lever arm between the bar and direct placement over the wrist. That starts to deviate from that optimal position, which results in you working harder than you have to, and or creating relative discomfort through the wrists and contributing musculature. Obviously, this is not optimal and can create quite a bit of discomfort over time, not to mention it could contribute to injury or even the bar completely falling out of your hands. Now, that's not to say that this bar can't fall out of your hands, but what you'll notice is with a neutral grip placement, it's much easier to maintain that optimal wrist positioning. And as a byproduct, because it's easier to maintain even under heavy load, you're less likely to develop that strain and discomfort through the wrist. Another positive of incorporating the Swiss bar and the neutral grip placement of the hands is that it's going to hammer the triceps. You are going to get an incredible degree of tricep development incorporating this. And that's not just on tricep extension variations such as the skull crusher. Even just traditional presses from all angles are going to hammer the triceps much harder than they might normally be prioritized when doing the same pressing angle and range of motion with a straight bar. As a byproduct, not only are you going to develop incredibly strong triceps, not only are you going to have better developed triceps, so both your performance and your aesthetics will improve, but stronger triceps means heavier presses. So it becomes a positive feedback loop as well. Stronger triceps also means that you're going to have less discomfort in the elbows. So that's a double win in one contributing factor. So as you can imagine, the Swiss bar is a pretty cool specialty bar. It provides multitude of benefits, not just in terms of exercise variety in consideration of what you can use the bar for alone, also because it provides multiple grip positionings built right into the bar itself, as well as if you happen to have an angled one, which not every Swiss bar is angled, you can flip it and do reverse grip variations on every single one of those other exercise variations, and all of the benefits that that neutral grip hand positioning provide. And as I mentioned, that's not even an exhaustive list. So if you don't have access to a Swiss bar, you might want to consider finding a way to get access to one, whether it's adding it to your home gym setup, or if it's changing gyms and getting a membership somewhere that has really cool toys, just like this particular one. And further, if you haven't incorporated it into your training and you happen to have access to one, you might want to consider doing so. If you happen to find this video to be beneficial, please follow or subscribe depending on what social media platform you might be watching this on. And of course, as per usual, if you have any training questions, nutrition questions, or just general lifestyle questions for me, send them my way, and if I'm able to answer them, I will on an upcoming post.